Is this whole short squeeze thing just a distraction away from GME? Well, let's find out. Write your comments down below if you're watching this on YouTube. If you've traded GME, are you or have you in the past 48 hours trading silver as well? We like to find out if it's the same group of people or if it's completely different. We're going to get to the bottom of this with Lobo Tigre, the due diligence guy of the Independent Speculator. I just threw in your Twitter handle there. Now, Lobo, you're the due diligence guy on Twitter. Welcome back to Kitco.
Well, thank you, David. And I'm really glad you framed it that way, because I'll try to help you out here. But I think it's great to ask the audience to participate, because ultimately that's the data. Yeah. And this is an evolving situation and we need hard data. So by all means, pitch in, weigh in. I'd love to see the results.
Right. Well, what have you researched so far? Tell us what you found.
All right, so I want to start out with a caveat that I'm not a Reddit user. I never have been. I do have a son, though, who is. So I'm not completely shooting in the dark here. But there's a couple of things here. All right, so one, we know that this Reddit investment phenomenon, Wall Street Bets, is making headlines. It's catching people's attention everywhere. Anybody in any kind of finance, and even people are not. I've heard the people on the financial media, young people saying, oh, my grandparents are asking me about Reddit and about Wall Street Bets and things. So it's become quite a mania. So that's the background. So the question, though, is, did any of these Reddit Wall Street Bets folks, the movers and shakers here, did they add on a new investment idea of trying to go up against silver shorts? And that made sense. There's been a lot of talk about this, and this has become a huge controversy. There's people saying it's a false flag thing, that it's, as you mentioned in your intro, it's interests who are trying to distract Redditors from the GameStop trade, trying to get them to look at something else. But one thing is clear, Reddit is not one person. Even the founders of the Wall Street Bets channel, whoever set it up, they don't own it. It's not them. It's a community. And members of the community can have different ideas. And something that people should be aware about Reddit is that it has a function where you don't just like or dislike, but you kind of thumbs up or thumbs down. You push up or promote or demote threads based on your perception of their value and relevance. And so there is data here. When you look at Reddit and you see a thread that says, the silver stuff is nonsense, it's a big distraction, pay attention to GameStop only. And that's upvoted. There's one I posted on my Twitter feed that was upvoted 97%. That tells you something about what the preponderance of the people on that channel are thinking or saying. So it's not all one thing. It does seem like the majority of the people are not silver bugs there. That's, I think, pretty clear. But it's also clear that there were some people who posted about silver, who suggested the idea. Apparently, some of those posts got deleted. A channel got kicked off, and so they've created a new Wall Street Silver channel on Reddit. And so this is. I'll let you go to your questions, but one more thing about that, real quick. It seems to me that the whole idea of Reddit, of this upvoting and downvoting of threads, it's supposed to not just give you information, but to give you sort of crowdsourced wisdom here, right? If it's really good information or really interesting, it should be upvoted a lot. It should rank higher. Yeah. And the opposite. So I don't think, if it's true that the moderators deleted the silver thread because they didn't like it or thought it was distracting from what they should have been focused on, if that's true, and I don't know that it is, but if it is, it seems to run contrary to the spirit of Reddit. It should have been either voted up or voted down by the users, not the moderators, acting Deus Ex Machina.
Okay, well, let's speculate some more, but before we do that, let's just get into the facts, right? Yesterday at the Globex Open, 6 p.m. Eastern time, silver shot up $2, and then it kind of just trailed sideways for a bit, but it did open 6% higher. Someone was pushing it up. Somebody did that. It wasn't, we could argue, we'll talk about it today. We can argue maybe it's the Wall Street bettors, maybe it isn't. Maybe some of them were involved, but somebody did it, and let's find out who it is. Do you have any idea?
I don't know that you and I are going to be able to find out who that was. An interesting comment I saw on my Twitter feed is that it's not Reddit kids. They don't have futures contracts trading ability on the COMEX who are pushing the COMEX price around.
Right. That's it.
But that's fair enough. And by the way, I should say, I get my fair share of trolls and flames on Twitter like anybody. But my corner of the Twitterverse is actually pretty interesting. Most of the people there, you know me, I'm not the pie in the sky hype kind of guy. I try to be the voice of reason, and that attracts people like that. So just quick plug, my due diligence guy handle at Twitter has attracted, I think, a really useful resource. And I get information from them. Like, you're asking me what are the facts? That's one of my sources of facts is my Twitter feed. I invite people to join in. But anyway, so this idea comes from there too. But the traders who do have access, they're paying attention. They're watching the news. And if they think that the next big Wall Street bets thing is silver and they want to get on board that bandwagon, it's just started, right? And these things run for some time. So if you're in not on day one, but day two, that's not bad for a 10-day, 100-day trade or whatever it's going to be. So you could say that maybe the kids on Reddit, and they're not all kids, didn't do it, but people are paying attention to what they're doing. So if they sparked it, is it really fair to say it had nothing to do with Reddit?
This is how I first became suspicious that it wasn't entirely the same crowd. Like, I'm not saying it was or isn't, but I have my, I'm a skeptical investor, whatever you want to call it. I question whatever the mainstream narrative is. And the mainstream narrative right now is that it's the Wall Street bettors pushing up silver. So here's the issue, right? I've spoken to a few guests before you in the last day or so. And the consensus is it's very difficult to actually push up silver because of how large the market is. Also, the exact instruments you'd have to buy. The most direct way to push up silver or push it down is to trade the physical. Now, most people on Robinhood, like you said, don't have brokerage accounts with physical bullion dealers. You have to literally go and buy 1,000-ounce, 100-ounce bars, whatever the case may be. Buying the futures contracts, derivatives contracts has limited effect. ETFs, no effect. Miners is another avenue. We've seen miners get pushed up this morning, but that's a different instrument altogether, right? So the silver market is less targeted as an instrument than, let's say, GameStop. It's just one stock. There's only one thing you can buy.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that too. I get it, David, but and that is a reasonable point. But I got to push back a little bit here too.
Sure.
There's a lot of people discounting, like they're pointing out the Hunt Brothers episode and how Hunt Brothers tried to corner the silver market and they failed, and it's not going to happen. It's much too big a market to try what the Hunt Brothers did. But even if you accept the thesis that some group on Reddit or some subgroup of the people even on the Wall Street Bets area of Reddit are interested in boosting silver or profiting from people who are short silver in some way, getting in trouble. That's not at all the same thing as the Hunt Brothers trying to corner the silver market. They're not trying to control the price of silver or own so much silver that they can call the shots on silver. Of all the things that I've seen, I haven't seen anybody trying to do that. But they are trying to, from what I've seen, they are trying to say there are people that are short either silver itself or silver stocks, and those are legitimate targets. And we can crowdsource action that can push those shorts and possibly cause some short covering to our benefit. That's a completely different thing. So I think it's a little beside the point to say, the Hunt Brothers tried and failed, or this is too big. Prices are determined at the margin, and if some activist group sparks an idea and that catches on, big things can happen. That's the other thing. The Redditors, whatever subsegment is pro silver, they're not alone. And if you catch the attention of the gold and silver bugs out there who just wanted to hear this and they jump on the bandwagon, that creates a bigger wave, and that catches the attention of the mainstream media. Big things can happen.
Yeah. I've seen pushback on my last two interviews. I read the comments, guys. I read all your comments. And then people are saying, there's some people saying, look, this is fake news. This is just a distraction from what's really happening, which is what the focus is GameStop. So I see two camps of people sort of having a debate. Let's look at some of the images that you shared with me on Reddit. So I love memes. So here's one from Admiral Akbar from Star Wars. It's a trap. What kind of trap is he referring to here? Like, who's setting this trap? Is it the hedge funds? This is one theory I've read on one of the comments in my videos, is that the hedge funds want revenge on the Wall Street bettors, so they're purposely misleading them into a silver market short squeeze, and they know that this is impossible to do because silver is a really, really big market. So all these guys trying to short squeeze silver out, they're going to get slaughtered. That's the theory I read. What do you think?
Well, I disagree with that for the reasons I just gave. You don't have to corner the silver market. You don't have to be the Hunt Brothers. If you can push prices around, you can profit. If you bought some of the instruments Friday that are now up today in whatever level, you're already in the money. So, that's good enough, right? Now, that having been said, that particular Admiral Fishface there quote that you
Akbar,
mentioned,
his name is Akbar.
that was, I forget his name.
It's not a fish face.
Admiral Fishface. That was upvoted by 90%, 97% of the Wall Street Bets users at the time that I took that screenshot. So that tells you that 97% of the people that looked at that agreed with that. And that, I think, is a very significant result. So that is telling you, that it's not the majority of the Wall Street Bets people who are pro silver there. That having been said, there are silver posts still there on Reddit. There have been, even the ones that have been deleted. There were more. I have users, readers, followers on Twitter who told me that they were participating and the posts have been deleted. So I have some real data on that, right? But here's the other thing. It's not just trying to push people into trying to do something the Hunt brothers failed to do. There's also the perhaps more plausible idea that it's agents of entities like Citadel, which are still short GameStop and would like to see Reddit distracted from pushing them over the brink. Now, that's plausible. And I'm fine with that. That could be part of what's going on. It doesn't have to be one answer, right? This is crowdsourced. By definition, it's not one thing. It's an average of lots of different people getting in on the action. But here's the thing, David, and maybe just go a little sideways from this whole conversation.
Yeah.
Whether Admiral Akbar is right, or whether the silver sub rebels there are legitimate, illegitimate, I'm a bull on silver anyway. The fundamentals are still super strong for monetary metals this year and beyond. So all of this, it's the GameStop people might see the silver thing as a distraction. I see the GameStop thing potentially as a distraction. I'm a silver bull anyway. And if this Reddit thing proves to be just a fleeting temporary tailwind, fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, let's look at the price action, because the price gives us the most accurate picture of what's going on currently. So as we speak, it's close to it's 2:20 p.m. Eastern time, Monday. And, GME is down 25%. Silver's up a little bit, but not a lot. If I were to make the assumption that it's a GME crowd pushing into silver, you would see an inverse correlation, right? But silver's just kind of flat today. It's not,
no, silver is up, and there are a lot of silver stocks that are up too.
Silver stocks are up,
my
but the
screen
bullion
this morning, and boy, I don't think I have ever seen my portfolio screen entirely in the green. The whole thing across the board. Even the uranium stocks, everything.
So maybe it is the same crowd.
Market action, but I don't. I'm sorry. I don't think it's people dumping GameStop in mass and going into silver. I just think it's sparked interest in silver. Whether the impetus here really was Wall Street Bets or not, cat's out of the bag. People are talking about it. It's making headlines around the world. Even the BBC is talking about how the next big crowdsource thing is silver. So, that is a wave. I don't know how far it goes. I don't know how high it goes, but it gets people interested. It gets some people to educate themselves. It gets some people to realize, wow, silver fundamentals are strong. Silver has underperformed. Silver is an energy metal, right? It's used in these photos. I mean, just there's so much education happening out there. That just can't be a bad thing.
Okay.
Now that doesn't mean that silver can't retreat, right? If this wave fizzles, I'm not saying it goes up and stays up forever.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the wave, however long and whatever the correction afterwards is, it brings new people to the market, and it has educational consequences, and that is good for both gold and silver.
Okay. Now let's talk about what you said earlier in the interview. You said that silver was targeted because of short interest on the metal. Do we have evidence that there's a lot of shorts on silver?
Well, I'm not a member of GATA, and my respects to those guys. They talk about the commitments of traders reports and the short interest in silver all the time. Those would be better people to ask for on data on that. I look more at the stocks, and we can look up stocks. And famously, First Majestic. The funny thing about First Majestic, and I've seen screenshots of this Reddit thing that supposedly mentioned First Majestic as a target to go after the shorts specifically on, because it is one of the most shorted mining stocks I know of, and in the silver space, probably the most shorted stock out there. And I don't want to prick on First Majestic, and I don't want to say anything about the company itself. We're just talking about this short squeeze phenomenon.
Sure.
But I saw that Reddit thing, and it mentioned AG. Now, AG is the U.S. ticker for First Majestic. It's FR on the Toronto. It's also the chemical symbol for silver. And the post that I saw was talking primarily about SLV, the ETF, and jumping on silver itself. And it seemed to me that one way of interpreting it was that it actually didn't mention First Majestic silver at all, but mentioned silver by its chemical symbol AG. And people interpreted that the same way, like Elon Musk tweets something, oh, AG, let's buy that. And they piled into that stock, thinking that was a short squeeze recommendation. Now, I don't know the truth of that. That one screenshot is all I've seen. Mm-hmm. But it says something about the energy in this space, and that there are, in fact, potential short squeezes that could be crowdsourced here.
What about the miners then now, Lobo? What do you think about the miners? Like I said, the bullion itself hasn't moved up dramatically compared to the price of the miners. Like First Majestic, you brought up First Majestic, up 21% today. I was looking at another junior miner, Kootenay Silver, up 15%. The list goes on. So people, I figured out that it's difficult to push up futures, but it's less difficult to push up some of these juniors and mid-tiers.
Well, that's absolutely true. But even more broadly, we all know, why do we even like investing in these, as my friend Doug Casey likes to say, crappy little junior mining stocks? That's a technical description. Why? Because they offer so much leverage to the underlying metals, right? Gold goes up 1%. Gold miners, typically the big ones, they'll go up 3 or 4%. And with the juniors, the leverage is even greater. So actually, silver was up as much as 10% at one point this morning. And I know it has pulled back, but that's a really big move, even for silver, which is more volatile than gold. Yeah. And if the stocks have leverage to the metal, the buy orders go in. And it seems like everything with the name silver in it is getting a bump. That doesn't mean those companies are great. Doesn't mean they're crap. It's just hype. It's just a wave. It's just interest that's going into everything. But I'll tell you one thing. I've gotten more press releases and messages from silver companies, my inbox this morning, than I typically get in a month. So the promoters out there, they're no dummies. They see an opportunity and, oh, hey, we got a new water cooler in the office. Let's put out a press release.
So Lobo, what's your conclusion based on everything we've discussed? Which camp are you in? Who's responsible?
I have to say, my feeling is, and given the upvoting and downvoting on Reddit, I don't think that, this was a big Wall Street Bets idea. I think at most there was a sub community within Wall Street Bets that said, hey, there's shorts in the silver space. Let's jump on that too. Mm-hmm. It's possible that it was, interest trying to distract from GameStop, but we're never going to know that. I don't think we're ever going to know that. But I do think we can say that there were legitimate silver bulls that posted a reasonable investment thesis in this channel, and we'll see what happens. But the bottom line really, and let's not get distracted with this whole Reddit thing, is my bottom line, is, if the Reddit thing helps, great. If it fizzles and goes away, no problem. The fundamentals remain what they are. I'm extremely bullish on gold and silver this year and beyond. And that's really the message. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I have cash to deploy, and I'm looking for stocks to buy.
Well, I don't know if it is going to go away, Lobo. I just got a tweet this morning from somebody that says, "Yeah, uranium is the next to be short." And I replied, "Are we just short squeezing everything in alphabetical order now? Like, what's going on? What's the next play?"
Well, if so, uranium says we're getting near the end of the list. It's funny that you got that tweet. I actually mentioned that in my Saturday free weekly email. I put a free weekly digest out every Saturday, and I don't spam people. And I said, if you think that this short thesis is going to have an interesting impact on silver, Just imagine what would happen if they jumped on uranium, which is a much tinier market. So that's interesting. I don't know, David. I'm not going to predict the future on that. I do know that whether the Wall Street Bet specific crowd is jumping onto the next short ideas or not, I do know that there are young traders out there that do get both of these. And I know because some of them are my clients. I have subscribers only meetings, Zoom meetings, and I can see them. And yes, okay, there's a bunch of silver-haired guys there, but there are also some guys who are considerably younger than I am. And they get it, and they understand the uranium thesis. And it fits in with that global warming climate change thesis. So, it could happen.
Lobo, so final question. We spoke last summer about rising millennial interest in gold and silver. I remember that interview that made waves on the internet. I wonder if this progression was something that you had anticipated. If I had told you a year ago that the silver market was going to get pushed up by a bunch of Robin Hooders and Wall Street bettors on Reddit, what would your response be?
Well, I would not claim to have predicted it. You know how I feel about the prediction racket, but I did write about that. You referenced in that interview some of my research into Robinhood trading before that Robintrax website got, the plug pulled on it. So we have data. We know that as early as last summer, that there were a lot of young people who are, you may say that many of them, by definition, if they're young, they can't have the experience of old traders, but they're not stupid and they're looking for gain. And even if they couldn't care less about gold and silver as monetary metals or ideologically, they're looking for opportunities. Yeah. And, gold stocks, silver stocks have delivered, 10 baggers, 20 baggers, even more in their history. And that's something that any young speculator has to be, consider that as a possibility.
Okay, perfect. Lobo, thank you so much for coming in and giving us your thoughts. Interesting discussion. And of course, I'll close by addressing the audience once more. You are the best source. You are the best primary source of data. Let us know exactly what you're doing with silver, with GameStop, GME, AMC. Well, let us know if there's an overlap, if you're doing both, and we'll collect the data and report it from there. Thank you, Lobo, and thank you for watching.